Today may be the best moment to buy a 14th gen Intel CPU or even a 13th or 12th gen, basically to build a brand new used system on LGA 1700. And the two reasons for that are, first of all, those CPUs are now cheap on the used market. I'm talking, I bought an i7-4700F for $150 and it was brand new in the box. The second reason is this motherboard, and this is the Jginyue B760M Snow Dream. Now, I've actually covered another Intel LGA 1700 Jginyue Snow Dream motherboard, but it was a Z790, so the higher end chipset. While that motherboard was insanely good, it was quite a lot more expensive because the price I paid for this is $100 because I utilized coupons on AliExpress during a discount period. And as you know, if you follow the channel, I recommend you only buy on AliExpress if you're getting a massive discount. You may have to get a new account. I'm not saying you should do it on purpose. You may have to get some coupons, but one way or the other, you can pay about 20% less on average than the actual costs you see on the website. And for $100, paired with a $150 i7 with as many cores as the 14700F does have, you just slap an RTX 5070 on it and you're good to go. So with that said, let's actually talk about the motherboard. Now, first of all, what do you get in the packaging? Well, absolutely nothing. Not even the I/O shield because it's integrated. They literally throw a SATA cable at you just to make you feel like you got something. As if you were to use a SATA SSD on this motherboard, which literally has 4 separate M.2 NVMe slots. And that's the main selling point. The connectivity on this motherboard is absolutely insane. I'm talking 4 3-pin RGB connectors, 4 fan connectors, 4 NVMe M.2 slots, with one being right next to the RAM, and every single one of these slots having a heatsink with a thermal pad on it. Crazy work. Now, the I/O is also great. You get plenty of connectivity, USB 2, you even get USB Type-C on the back. However, you do not get USB Type-C internally, so to use on your case. This is the only caveat I have with this motherboard. Maybe the connector costs a bit more. I think they should add it. And then literally, this would have nothing less of a mainstream motherboard. It only has 2 X16 PCIe NVMe slots, but who uses SLI anymore anyways? And it only has 2 RAM slots, which is actually a very strong point in favor of this motherboard, because with just 2 RAM slots and those being so close to the socket, the actual lines are gonna be better and running cooler, which means you can run higher speed RAM. Maybe you didn't know this, but LGA 1700 scales heavily on the DRAM. You want to get good RAM to go with it. Now, what I have here today is some King Bank stuff, which I bought on AliExpress just because it was cheap and because it was color matching the motherboard. And for $70 after coupons, you really can't complain for 32 GB of RAM. However, if you want to spend a bit more and get high speed DDR5 RAM, it's gonna get you a lot more performance for very low price of the extra cost on the RAM. Now, this motherboard has the space for Wi-Fi, but it doesn't have included Wi-Fi. You have to get an M.2 card and an antenna, and to plug it on the back. They leave the space open because they don't give you any X4 PCIe slots. The motherboard also has an optic audio out, which is something rare these days, and it even has 2.5 gigabit LAN integrated. I mean, listen, this is not a cheap motherboard. It is cheap, but it's not $50, okay? We are getting closer to the price of regular motherboards, regular B760s on the market, okay? However, the thing is, for a low to mid-range price, you're getting the kind of connectivity and features and VRM quality, which we're gonna cover in a second, which is on par, literally on par with higher-end motherboards. And do we wanna talk about the aesthetics? Like, I haven't even touched on it, but this thing looks like a ROG Strix motherboard pretty much. They clearly copied the design, but it clearly was a very well done copy. So I can't complain at all, really. Coming back to the VRMs, these heatsink are real, and even though they are empty right here under the I/O shield, they're actually made in such a way where they cool properly. In all the motherboards I've reviewed, I'm reviewing a lot of AliExpress motherboards on the channel because I think a lot are interesting, and a lot which look interesting are actually really bad. Basically, this design works, and it works very well. Now, of course, it's a B series motherboard, so no overclocking, just DRAM overclocking, and don't expect to run a 4900K at full unlocked wattage on it, but up to a K series i7 or up to a non-K series i9, you're gonna be plenty fine with this motherboard, and also give it a nice read with my thermal imaging camera, and it was running great. It also has an 8+4 pin on the CPU power connector, which shows you that the motherboard is ready to get more power. These makers from Asia, they're pretty smart. Generally, if they put a single 4-pin connector for the CPU, it's because they know that if they did anything different, it would fry their motherboard, so they are power limiting it to begin with. If they go ahead and give you access to this much power draw, it's because they know the motherboard can handle it, and my tests confirm it. There is no throttling whatsoever, and also to reference the previous G790 Snow Dream review, which I did back 2 years ago, that was the chart topper motherboard for stock performance. I was running an i9-13900K on it, and it was running faster here than out of the box on a Gigabyte Aorus Elite motherboard, which is insane. But the guys doing this BIOS, they know what they're doing. The BIOS is very well made, very complete. You find anything you need in it. It is not very user-friendly, but the graphics is pretty cool. And the first time you enter, you have to switch to English, but it takes 1 second to do. So all in all, to recap, this motherboard, fully recommended. So far, Jginyue is my favorite manufacturer in terms of Asian motherboards in the market. And I think you should buy it. I will leave a link to it down below in the description. And as usual, I want to hear if you guys tried one of these and you had any problems, please do let me know. It's very important. I want my video to act as a little forum so we can discuss if we find problems down the line, like it happened with my Huanansi motherboard, which down the line I tried a 5070 on it and it was bandwidth limiting the PCIe. Not good. And with that said, if you watched the video this far, drop a like and subscribe, maybe if you want to help the channel. See you guys in the next one. Bye bye.